Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday.
I'm Gwen Douglas, and you're listening to Juice. I'm joined by my lovely co-host,
Emily Harmon.
And we are also joined today by...
Thor Gudmundsson, fresh from London.
Lovely. Today we're talking about orange wine.
Good. It's an interesting topic because it comes up quite a lot with people that don't know so much about wine, are getting into learning a bit about wine.
Absolutely.
And particularly I think for anybody who's a consumer that goes to a natural wine fair, they're definitely curious about orange wine because we're seeing so much of it. My beautiful cousin, who is a beauty therapist that has very, very limited wine knowledge, she's come up before, I think, and it sounds a bit unfair on her.
We're going to have her on.
I know, we're going to have her on, yeah. But anyway, she said to me one day, she said, "What is this orange wine?" And I took her out and actually we drank a Skin Contact Moscato from Di Martino. And she got really hooked on orange wine. So now every time I see her, she expects me to bring an orange wine to her. And she doesn't even know why she likes it.
I think I have a similar experience with my sister also. When they came to Berlin on one of the in-flight magazines coming over, there was an article about natural wine. And of course, the sort of talking point is orange because it's the thing that's other than conventional white, red and pink.
Yeah, the world has discovered a new colour of wine.
Yeah. And I also find for a lot of my clients, for example, if we go for drinks that aren't necessarily into wine, there are so many go-betweens with beer and orange wines sometimes that a lot of the same flavors, people are really interested by that bitterness. There's some flavors they understand. They're like, oh, I don't normally like wine.
Yeah, I think people are definitely, getting a taste for orange wine and getting a lot of interest. And we're finding that the wine rooms, even, we're in West London, so we're not in a trendy part of town. We don't have hipsters or anything. But even in Notting Hill and sort of in Kensington Church Street, people are coming and sort of, before you'd have to push orange wine on them and really explain it. Whereas now they're spontaneously asking, haven't you got more orange wines? And
Tor owns a number of wine bars, wine bars, wine shops, restaurants.
Yeah,
It's
all
a
three.
sort of a fusion of all three into
all of the
one.
above, or none of the above.
But you guys, even though you're in a more conservative part of London, you have quite a sort of forward-thinking wine selection with more unusual choices, as well as classic stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's quite open, so if you want to go there and drink something crazy and natural, there's something for you. There'll definitely be orange wine for you, but then if you wanted like a nice Bordeaux, you can also find that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's there's posh, there's middle of the road, and there's geeky, and you've got to cater to everybody's taste.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need to judge people too much, and accept that people have got different tastes. And it's great that now they are getting into orange wine
And getting a lot more open-minded with what they drink.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen that over the last few years. And I think the natural wine movement's really helped that.
Yeah, I mean, people are already just looking for something new and interesting, and that's kind of, it has a colour that's appealing, it's a little different, it's not your mum's wine.
So orange wine, for those people that have not encountered orange wine before, it's a wine, or it's also referred to as amber wine, so orange or amber wine, depending on where in the world you are. But orange wine, the name sort of gives it away. It has an orange appearance, but it's not made from oranges, which sounds very obvious.
Okay,
but the amount of times I get asked, "Is there oranges in this?"
Well, let me tell you, because I did order on a menu. There was an orange wine, but where was I? In Sevilla. So of course it was actually
So
wine
it was a
made from
sangria,
oranges.
basically.
No, it was like an orange.
How did I not
liqueur.
know this story?
Yeah, I was like, I have a glass of the orange wine on the menu, and it was actually
Was it good?
oranges. Yeah, it was delicious.
But it wasn't an orange wine.
No, it was more like a liqueur kind of fortified wine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been having words with the staff in that restaurant and telling them to sort their menu out.
I was just happy
Very
that I
misleading.
had something to drink. But of course, I always go for the thing on the menu that makes no sense. It's like, it just says
There's no
orange
peach
wine.
schnapps here, so I've got to go on to that.
Hey.
The orange liqueur.
Leave me in my peach eau de vie alone.
Oh, that's right, sorry.
Peach eau de vie, nice.
Yeah, she's got a little soft spot. I think, though, it doesn't surprise me. Before, when she told me, I was like, yeah, that's about right. The Gewürztraminer, she loves Gewürztraminer, she's obsessed with it.
What can I say?
Yeah, I've heard that.
I'm like never going to live it down.
I know.
I'm like going to single-handedly bring back
Queen of
Gewürztraminer.
aromatics.
Has
So
to
how
be.
about
t-shirt.
orange Gewürz?
I love them.
I thought you were
going
going to bring one
No.
today. I was close to buying one myself as a curveball just to like freak you out of like, why?
I didn't, because I actually want to do an episode on unusual Gewürztraminers, because we did record one that is yet to be.
That's what I mean.
released.
She's only doing it if the limelight is fully on Gewürztraminer.
Fair enough.
You know, we drank some classics, and I think it would be fun to do one with a sort of more unusual, because I love a skin contact Gewürztraminer. I think it's super interesting.
So just to go back, because I know we started talking about what orange wine is, but
Okay,
I don't want
we can go
anybody
back.
to get lost.
Yes.
In the Gewürztraminer bubble.
The rabbit hole that is
The haze
Gewürztraminer.
of Gewürztraminer. But so orange wine, amber wine, also known as skin contact wine.
Right.
What do you guys know as orange wine or amber wine to be?
Mentioned that it's something made with a white grape that has skin contact. White or like the sort of peachy coloured grapes.
Yeah, and in fact, I actually prefer explaining it as a skin contact white rather than orange wine.
What reason for that?
Orange can, it can be a bit sort of misleading. People don't really know what to expect. Whereas it's easier to explain that, it's a skin contact white or white made like red wine and so on. And I think it leads more easily into discussions on food matching and why it's a great sort of food wine. And
That's interesting. So I always, whenever I do wine lists, I always put orange wines in the orange category because I feel like there are a lot of people that don't necessarily know what orange wine is, or they know it well. So for the people that don't know, they go, oh my God, what the hell is that? So then it instantly creates the dialogue.
Yeah.
I guess it will do the same thing probably when they see skin contact as well. But I like that it sets it apart to the point where there has to be a discussion or a disclaimer needs to be given.
Yeah.
The easiest way I describe orange wine is white grapes that are produced in the same way as red wine, and I recommend orange wine for red wine drinkers because it is a wine that appears to be more like a white wine, but the structure, the shape of the wine is more like a red wine because we have quite a lot of tannin because we're keeping the skins in contact with the juice, so we're extracting tannins. I always explain that a little bit like keeping a tea bag in water. The longer you keep it in, the more colour you take. So you're taking this colour from the skins, giving it this darker colour, but taking these tannins and sometimes this bitterness. So the shape of the wine, and for food matching purposes, I always think of it more like a red wine because for a white wine drinker, I think it's a huge leap into an orange wine.
it is, absolutely. I think
So
you're right.
when I do a wine list, I would do white, rosé, orange, and then
I
red.
think it's a nice progression anyway.
Yeah.
But I also think that there are some orange wines that are very light and easy with little skin contact.
Exactly, like the tea
That are
bag.
still-
The less you brew it, the shorter amount of time of maceration, the shorter skin contact, as Tor said. We're not taking too much. The wines are more like a white wine, and that the longer the skin contact is going on, and depending on the grape variety as well, then you're getting a different style of wine.
But you're right, but I think there would be a risk in lumping it with other sort of white wines, straight white wines in a way, because somebody is expecting a steely Chablis or something. You give them an orange wine, and they're going to be a bit freaked out.
Interestingly enough, orange wine is actually a tradition that's been preserved in some parts of the world and has never been changed. So even though it's become a little bit of a trend and a bit of a fad between sort of younger winemakers or regions where there was never orange wine, all of a sudden producing orange wines, which I think is a very positive thing because there's lots more space for creativity. But there are places in the world like Georgia, for example, where there are regions where they have only made skin contact white wines for thousands of years. And I find that really fascinating. So with some of these wines that you try, they're like a little piece of history even though they'll be probably much better than they tasted thousands of years ago.
The Italians have a orange wine history?
They do, yes.
Because that's some of my favourite orange wines are like northeast.
Well, that's why
Italian.
the wine that I have bought today is from the northeast of Italy.
Delightful.
We haven't got anything Georgian today, but I think it's just interesting for anybody that wants to research it or learn a bit more to look back. Well, when I was in Italy last year, 2018, when I was in Italy in Tuscany, I... don't laugh at me. Kick you under the table. But no, when I was there was... So Gwen, you've just poured us some wine. What are we drinking?
We're drinking Matassa Blossom. So, because I came unprepared as per usual, Emily did my homework for me. I brought the bottle.
So actually, Tom, the winemaker, is Tom behind Matassa, Tom Loeb, is a friend of mine and Tor's actually. So
Absolutely.
We both have drunk the wines for a few years and know him.
Show-offs.
Name dropper.
A great guy, sort of makes some lovely wines, and
I'm a big fan.
talks a lot of shit, and also a lot of sense. And
Tom is producing wine in the Roussillon. Can find Tom at most of the natural wine fairs. He's a South African guy. He's in the south of France.
Yeah.
who's making some really interesting and sometimes I think a little bit challenging some of the wines, because they definitely can be a little bit more extreme, because this would definitely be a wine that would maybe need a little bit of a disclaimer for the guests that you're serving it to if they weren't. I mean, it's an orange aromatic wine. I think it's not for everybody.
I'm like, ooh, it's so delicious.
No, because it's aromatic.
Yeah.
It's challenging, but it's great because it's not faulty in any way.
No,
Which
right.
sometimes is one of the things that can be an issue for some people with natural wines is how much they perceive different faults. But this is a great wine.
Yeah, it's very clean,
Very clean.
And I think it represents a grape. So I believe this is made with Muscat, Moscato, as we know from previous episodes with Alessandra Bearer. We interviewed about
This has a great,
Moscato. So very, very floral grape, spending 3 weeks on skins.
I love the colour of this because it does have a pink hue to it. It's like orange with a slight... It's like a hologram. It's really pretty. I love the colour.
I was going to say it's like an Aperol Spritz where the ice is melted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it does look
But
like
there is
that.
kind of this like pinky...
Or Ramona. On the orange spectrum, it's definitely a lighter orange, but very floral on the nose. So it's staying true to the grape variety. It literally smells of blossoms, like the name.
Like
so I'm
just
sure
a
that's
lovely
why.
summer field.
But I think it's great because beyond the initial sort of approach of very aromatic approach, I think you're getting the components that come from the skin content, which is a real sort of savouriness and spice and so on.
It almost
it's a very
sounds a bit
complete
like ground
wine.
pepper.
Yeah, totally.
And I know this sounds odd, but it reminds me of a little bit of confectionery, like laces, like strawberry laces.
Totally, like red licorice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like this. I think this would be an interesting wine to introduce people to orange wine
Absolutely.
with, because it's not too tannic, it's not too dry, but there's a little bit of grip there. The $1 million question, Gwen.
What would I eat it with?
Yes!
So actually, because we were talking about tagines and stuff earlier, because I always smell a little apricot-y thing on this one. So I actually think some nuts and some dried apricot, like a couscous, something not too heavy, but still in the sort of Middle Eastern flavour, I think would be really nice with this.
I hear you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also moving on to Asian cuisines and so on, Southeast Asian ones. I think sort of Malay, Thai, Vietnamese, that kind of thing would be good.
Yeah, that would be really nice, actually, with the aromatics. It'd be
With the
really
fish
nice, like
sauce and all
lemongrass
that,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too spicy, that would be my thing. But they're quite versatile orange wines. Like I was chatting with a couple of the Georgian winemakers, and they were saying, a bottle of orange wine goes on the table, and then a million different things are served: fish, garlic, onion. A lot of these pungent flavors, a lot of wines don't stand up to. A bottle of orange wine, super, super versatile. If in doubt, and you're cooking, tapas style for people, bottle of orange on the
So
table.
how can we make that like a snappy? I was like, oh no, that doesn't rhyme, because nothing rhymes with
When in Madrid,
orange.
drink orange. When in Sevilla, don't drink orange wine.
That might be
Eat oranges, don't drink oranges.
It's going to be the subline to the orange wines. Nothing rhymes with orange.
Orange.
It's literally nothing that rhymes with orange.
Orange.
Orange,
Blancmange.
drink the whole range.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's nothing that rhymes with orange.
That's why there was that terrible band in the 90s, I think, called Rhymes with Orange.
But
I did have a question that I bet you some people at home listening might have a question about orange wine. Is there a difference between rosé and orange wine?
Yes.
Let's hear it for the people at home.
It's the time on skins.
Aha. All right. So what is the...
So rosé is, proper rosé rather than blended stuff, is just sort of red grapes, press.
Could be red and white grapes, though.
Yeah, could be a mixture. But it's very little skin contact. So it's just picking up the pigmentation and a little bit of pigmentation.
Yeah, we're talking a max of usually no more than 12 hours, but often it's like less. 4 to 6.
All right.
So that would be it. And then I think also then with orange, it's not usually, there's never usually a red grape in there.
Okay.
It's white grapes, isn't it? So it's a skin contact white, it's orange.
Yeah.
Grape.
Only because I was thinking of that meme that we found on the internet at one time.
Yeah, so there's someone on Instagram, natural wine, like wine as in like to wine, yeah, to compare. Just in case you're confused of what a wine is.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the drink, we're talking about the noise Gwen made.
Yeah.
And there was a post, and it was a guy sitting behind a table, and at the front there was like a banner, and it said, "Orange wine is rosé wine, convince me otherwise." Wasn't it? That's what it said.
Pretty much.
And I laughed so much because I loved it, because I thought, There's some truth in that.
Just a guy sitting in a parking lot.
Looking like he does not give a shit about anything.
But I mean, this guy gets used for lots of memes, this particular photograph of the man sitting in the parking lot. But this one in particular, it's been on my mind. So I just thought I'd clear that up for anyone
it's been troubling you for some time, Gwen.
No, it's just I thought if we're going to do an episode on orange wine, I'm sure there are some people that are like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
So maybe that's fine.
But, you know, but with roses, for example, it's rare that you pick up any or much tannin.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in skin contact wine, you want
dryness. And what do you guys think about this wine without food?
I would smash this bottle, no problem. Like on a... we almost have.
We've been doing well, actually.
This is going into Gwen's notebook of smashable wines.
Yeah, because I think... I mean, I haven't had this in a while, but normally we would drink this on the balcony in the evening, at sundown. It's a really nice...
Yeah.
I also think orange wines make great aperitifs anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and maybe throw in a few olives or crisps for your sort of...
Well,
for your
I
food
have
match.
put some crisps on the table.
Absolutely.
That we are not allowed to be eating right now.
Emily has thought of the food match.
That is the problem, that we've had crisps before and the crunches are very distracting for everybody.
And then you're like picking it out of your teeth for the next 5 minutes.
Yes.
It's not good. So
I've given us some glasses here that can act as a vessel to hold your wine while we move on to the next one.
I think she sorry.
Neck it or tip it.
I did almost neck it.
There's moments like this where I wish there was a video on, because Gwen always does these like slightly naughty things where she either does it and then acts like she's got away with it, or like when we made the glühwein and I turned around and I saw her just drinking out of the bottle. And then when she saw me, she just does this little laugh because she's like, busted. Or she goes, looks at it and then she thinks, can I do it? Can I not do it? Oh, I don't know. That's really entertaining to watch. So the next wine is the wine that I bought today.
I like this one a lot actually too.
Oh, sorry,
yeah, beautiful colour again.
Yeah, lovely.
So we are drinking the 2009 Ribolla Gialla from Terpin. So this is coming from Friuli in Italy, so the northeast of Italy. This particular part of the world for me is one of my favourite regions for orange wine. I particularly love Georgian wine, but this was the first orange wine I ever tasted was from this region, from a producer called Josko Gravner. The Ribolla Gialla, actually, and that's why I wasn't sure which one to choose from.
They have a Chardonnay too,
They have a Chardonnay, which is amazing.
Yes.
And they have a wine called Yakot, which is Friulano, and it's a play on Tokaj. You know, Friulano used to be called Tokaj Friulano, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was a toss up between the Yakot or this, and I actually thought Ribolla Gialla is a great variety that does really well with skin contact. It's quite boring actually as a white wine, but the time on skins makes it a much more interesting wine. And we really only find Ribolla in this part of the world, like Slovenia and Friuli.
Yeah.
And interesting to try something with a bit of age on it as well. 2009, so we're very interesting nose. So obviously not aromatic like the other one, but every time we go back to it, herbal.
It's really herbal for
you know, I know this sounds really odd, but this is something that I often see with skin contact Ribolla, and it reminds me of toffee apples.
Okay.
You know, like these, but not like with toffee, like candied apples. That there's something that reminds me of that, because I get this really strong red apple note, and
it's
then
also
I get
the acidity from the apple that's still there with the toffee.
Red apple, it's honey. There's a slight nuttiness in the background there. It's quite umami actually.
Yeah.
I just love the smell.
Yeah, it smells really good. And because it's not obvious what anything is, it does make you keep going in for a smell.
More discreet.
Really,
and there's lots of little layers to peel back. This particular wine I decanted, so it's in the carafe, but I decanted this just before you arrived. So it's been in the decanter for an hour, but I just put a little stopper on the decanter and popped it in the fridge so it didn't get too warm. And that's something that maybe is a talking point of what temperature did you serve your orange wine at? Any thoughts?
I would say it depends on the orange wine.
Agreed.
Because I would say like the Blossom, I like it quite on the cooler side. But maybe this one is a little nicer at room temperature, like closer to room cool.
I think the more orange it is, the more structure it is. It can lend itself to warmer temperatures.
Yeah.
This isn't super cold though, is it?
No, I think it's...
This is about 12. I'd say this is about 12 to 13 degrees maybe.
Which I think is, is a great temperature for it, and a great temperature for actually quite a lot of whites as well, if they've got a bit of character and so on. You don't want to over chill it. But And especially when you're not thinking of a wine as an aperitif, but you're already thinking of what you're matching it with in,
this is definitely
food terms, and that temperature is perfect. I think.
I like it because it's not perfect, because when there's just a touch of this volatile acidity, this little bit of nail polish remover on the end, but I quite like it because it lifts the wine.
Yeah.
That it's not 100%, it's not 100% perfect, and it's not 100% clean, but that makes it a little bit interesting for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think I sort of, with these things, like when you say that volatility, that slightly nail polish volatility, it's all a question of how much there is.
Right.
So, a little lifts it, and too much is
kills it.
Yeah, exactly. But often it blows off anyway.
And I think this particular wine on the palate, it's a lot drier. It's more tannic. Without food, you lose some of the flavour. So I'd definitely recommend having a crisp at this moment.
I'm actually really trying to figure out what I would eat it with right now. So
This for me is more of a tagine wine because fatty lamb that's been cooking down with these spices.
Maybe it's because I don't eat so much lamb that I never think about it.
It's all going to change.
I know. That's it. After months of Lucas sneaking it into my food.
Yeah, Gwen has a boyfriend that was feeding her lamb and telling her it was beef.
It definitely tastes like lamb.
Yeah, you can definitely.
And he finally fessed up at the end.
So I'm never going to trust him again.
I mean, I love lamb, but I don't particularly like the taste of lamb fat. Actually,
it's not.
And
That's a bit gristly, isn't it?
Yeah, and when it goes cold as well,
Yeah,
cold lamb fat is pretty horrible, I think.
Yeah,
it's not like beef fat.
No, or chicken fat or anything.
Yeah.
You just throw it away.
Or pork, which is.
But I actually think this would be quite nice with pork too.
Yes.
Something like herb crusted, like a rolled something with lots of.
I always think of pork with orange wine.
Because I also think that
Got good acidity as well.
Because I also think there's not a lot of sweetness to this. I think something like pork that has its own sort of natural sweetness would kind of also duck maybe would also like a confit, something a little deeper would also work.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of let's say rillettes, duck rillettes or pork rillettes or something would be really good with that.
Because this would hold up against a cornichon, no problem.
Yeah. But the high fat content of those
is
those
important
things.
there.
On that note of pork, I've just cut up some fennel salami.
Fantastic.
Let's see if that changes the wine, because I think I always, whenever I do wine training sessions, particularly one with orange wine and then often with Italian reds.
Yeah.
Or quite tannic wines, I always get the guys to try it, or whoever I'm teaching, to try the wine before without food and then have something in your mouth and then try the wine again, so they understand the context of the wine. Because working I used to work at the River Cafe, so you'd serve these quite tannic acidic red wines, and people would say, the guests would be like, oh, I don't really like this, and then you would encourage them, just wait until you've had some food. And 9 times out of 10 they would love the wine then and want to keep it. But it's just understanding that the wine will be different with food as well, to not always judge it just on the first taste.
I like your salami anyway.
Yeah, the salami is very good. Huh?
I love fennel. No, I was imagining being in Naples actually and buying sausages with fennel.
Oh my god, tasting that after, it brings out the porkiness.
Yep.
And the herb.
Hashtag porkiness. Sorry.
I know, the porkiness and the herbal quality in that sausage. That wine just puts it on steroids.
Oh, it's great. But
Porkiness on steroids.
I'm going to challenge people listening at home. Please send me sentences using porkiness in a sentence. I want to see your sentences.
I spoke to. Can you imagine that people? I spoke to my husband about his porkiness.
But I want to. I've never. Yeah, that's great. I remember that.
How would you have said it?
I don't know. No, I love it. Maybe no different. Porkiness.
It would have amplified the pork flavour.
No, I really like it.
What would have been your alternative to porkiness?
Pork booster.
That sounds like a dodgy product, doesn't it? That definitely,
I like
the
it.
pork booster.
The pork. Oh my god! It's something you get in the spam file of your email.
Yeah.
Pork booster.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Any final words on orange wine?
Where would you suggest people in terms
discover
of
an orange wine?
Like any favourites?
Wine rooms in London, obviously.
Yeah.
The Michelberger in Berlin.
But I mean more if they go to their wine shop for entry level oranges. What should people be asking for? Where is a good place to start if you want to start your orange wine adventure?
Independent wine stores would be probably one of the first places to go, or wine bars.
But I mean, once you get to those places, what are you asking for? What regions do you think are a great way for someone to start? You know, maybe we don't want to bring them straight to the deepest, darkest depths of orange. You want to start with a light orange. Where are some nice regions to get orange wines from?
I think the northeast of Italy, as you're the one like this wine that we're tasting at the moment. That's
I feel like it's difficult because I wouldn't be able to advise somebody on an entry level region for orange wine.
Okay.
I feel like I could advise them on a place to go into full blown orange.
Okay.
And that would be Friuli or Georgia.
Okay.
They would be the places to. As soon as I think of orange wine, they're the first two spots. Do you have any other?
Well, but I would think of Friuli as being easier and more approachable than Georgia.
Well,
for Joe average,
because I think Georgian
I'm pretty much Joe average and that sort of thing, and I still find a lot of Georgian wines quite challenging.
Yeah, because they're not always so clean.
See, because I would say Slovenia or Veneto. Like, I love Malvasia from both of those regions, and I think for me that's one of the places where I first had orange wine that was quite light orange. Really approachable, stuff that you could drink without food.
But Slovenia, pretty much, when we talk about Friuli, we're also talking about Slovenia because that border, there are producers that are like 10 minutes from each other. Yeah. So I think that would be coming under the same region. And I think if you were in the Veneto, you were probably drinking wines from Friuli.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's next door.
Yeah.
Because there's not huge... I can't think of any producers making orange wine in the Veneto off the top of my head, but there would definitely be them.
Yeah.
For me, it's more about you have to ask advice when you're in a restaurant or a bar or a shop and say, I want to try orange wine. Yeah. I am a beginner. Where should I start? And that's why it's really important to find the place to get that advice. So, you know, in the UK, I have to say, I went to Waitrose Marks and Spencer's, and they had a Quevri skin contact Georgian wine at Marks and Spencer's.
Oh, good old Marks.
Yeah, and I was quite impressed with that. And it is branching out. So supermarkets in the UK, you can also find some stuff if you wanted to maybe get something that's not too expensive. Germany, the supermarkets are a car crash for orange wine. But
one day we're going to do a best of the worst situation.
But I think your best chance, if you want, for people who want that introduction and want the hands held of it, is to find a good independent wine merchant. So that means thinking London, it could be us, but it could be something like the Good Wine Shop or something. But it's probably
Bottle Apostle, maybe.
Yeah, Bottle Apostle, but it's probably not Majestic.
It was really nice to try 2 interesting bottles with the two of you.
Ooh.
And
me going back to the Blossom.
We'll be seeing you again in a few weeks, actually. So we look forward to that, and we'll be getting together to try some South African stuff. So stay tuned, people.
Until then, I'm Gwen Douglas.
I'm Emily Harmon,
and I'm Thor Gudmundsson.
You can find us on Instagram at juice.podcast.
On Twitter at juice_podcast.
And you can also find our website at juice.show, and there you can find some pictures,
tote bags
to carry all your wines around. And we'd love to hear from you on Instagram or Twitter or anywhere else. Send us your pictures, send us your bottles, and we'll see you next week.
See you then. Cheers.
See you soon. Cheers.